You know, when you or someone you love goes into a hospital, you're putting your complete trust in the people there, right? You expect them to help, to heal. But what happens when things go wrong? And what if it's not because of a bad doctor or a careless nurse, but because the system itself is broken? That's what we're going to dig into today, the hidden systems that are supposed to keep us safe, especially when we need them most. Every single person who works in healthcare, from doctors to nurses to technicians, starts their journey with this one core idea hammered into them. First, do no harm. It's like the golden rule of medicine. It's a promise. But we all know that despite this promise, things still go terribly wrong sometimes. And that's the disconnect we need to understand. Okay, get ready for this number, 98,000. That's how many people, a landmark report found, were dying every single year in the US from medical mistakes that could have been prevented. Just let that sink in. This wasn't just some dry academic paper. This report, called To Err is Human, was a bombshell. It was a wake-up call that completely changed the conversation about safety in our hospitals. So that leads to the big question, right? How does this even happen? You've got all these smart, caring people, doctors, nurses, everyone, who've dedicated their lives to helping people. So how do they end up in a system that's causing this much accidental harm? Well, the answer is, it's a lot more complicated than you'd think. To really get to the bottom of it, we've got to completely change how we think about mistakes. Our first instinct is always to find someone to blame, right? To point the finger at one person. But what we need to do is zoom out and look at the whole picture, the environment, the process, the culture. We have to shift from blaming the person to examining the system. So you've really got two totally different ways of looking at an error. The old way, the blame game, is all about finding the bad apple. Someone messed up, they must be careless, send them back for more training. But the modern approach, the one that actually works, asks way better questions. It says, hold on, was our system confusing? Did the tech fail? Were people too scared to say something was wrong? See the difference? It's huge. And this really gets to the heart of it. Think about it like a line of dominoes. Big disasters, whether it's in a hospital, on an airplane, or at a power plant, they're almost never caused by just one person pushing over the first domino. Nope. It's usually a whole series of little problems, little cracks in the system that line up just right. The final accident is just the last domino to fall. So, what exactly do we mean by faulty system design? It's basically when the system itself is setting a trap for the people working in it. Imagine trying to do your job perfectly, but the tools are confusing, the instructions are contradictory, and the workflow is a mess. It's a system that practically guarantees mistakes will happen and makes it almost impossible to catch them in time. Think about everything that's swirling around a nurse or a doctor during their shift. It's not just about what they learned in school. It's about the culture of the hospital. Is it supportive or punishing? Do they have the right equipment? Is the workflow logical? How well is the team communicating? With all of that going on, you can see why just yelling, "be more careful," is, well, it's just not going to cut it. All right, so we've established that the blame game is a dead end. So what's the alternative? Well, it's all about getting smart and designing safer systems from the ground up. It's about building safety right into the process itself. Here's the fundamental truth we have to accept. People are not perfect. We all get tired, we get distracted, we make mistakes. It's just part of being human. So a system that depends on everyone being perfect 100% of the time is doomed to fail. A truly safe system knows people will mess up and builds in safety nets to catch those mistakes. Let's look at something that happens a million times a day in hospitals: getting medication. It seems pretty straightforward, right? But think about the chain of events. First, your doctor has to write the prescription. Then, a pharmacist has to read it correctly and dispense the right drug. Then, a nurse has to check it all again and give it to you. Every single one of those handoffs is a place where something could go wrong. But here's the clever part. A good system turns each of those steps into a layer of protection. It's like having multiple safety nets. The pharmacist is there to catch a mistake the doctor might have made. The nurse is there to catch a mistake the pharmacy might have made. And you guessed it, you, the patient, can be the final, most important safety net of all. It's all about creating these checks and balances to stop an error in its tracks. Okay, so how do you actually build these stronger systems? Well, there are two main strategies. The first one is all about being proactive. It's about playing offense, trying to predict and prevent problems before they can ever happen. And this proactive approach really boils down to asking one simple but absolutely critical question. Whenever a hospital is about to try something new, a new procedure, a new piece of technology, a team gets together and asks, what could go wrong? They try to imagine all the ways this could fail. This whole process has a fancy name, Failure Mode and Effects Analysis, or FMEA. But don't let the name scare you. It's just a structured way to think about risk. A team will brainstorm all the potential problems, and then they'll score each one. They'll ask, how bad would it be if this happened? How likely is it to happen? And how easy would it be for us to catch it? They multiply those scores together to get a criticality score. And that number tells them, okay, this is the problem we absolutely have to fix first. Now, the second strategy is more reactive. It's what happens after an error has already occurred. This is about playing defense. When something goes wrong, you have to be able to break it down, learn from it, and make damn sure it never ever happens again. When a really, really bad mistake happens, I'm talking about something catastrophic, like operating on the wrong body part, it gets a special name. It's called a sentinel event. Think of a sentinel as a guard on a watchtower. This event is a giant flashing red light, a blaring alarm bell that screams, something is fundamentally broken in our system and we need to investigate it right now. So let's trace how a nightmare like a wrong site surgery can actually happen. It all started 3 weeks before the operation with a simple clerical error. The wrong knee was scheduled. Then on surgery day, the nurse checks with the patient, but she's using that same incorrect schedule. Now the surgeon, he does his part and correctly marks the right knee. But then in the operating room, the surgical drapes cover up his mark. And in a final fateful moment, a distracted surgeon just nods when the wrong procedure is announced. You see, it wasn't one big mistake. It was a chain reaction of small, seemingly minor failures. So when they investigated this, in a process called a root cause analysis, they didn't just stop at the surgeon messed up. They kept digging. And what did they find? The real reasons. Things like inconsistent communication between the team members, a total failure to follow the timeout procedure before cutting, a hospital culture that pushed for speed over safety, and the fact that the scheduler's office was never held accountable for that first mistake. Those were the true root causes. Okay, so after hearing all of this, you might be wondering, where do I fit in? Well, this is maybe the most important part. The modern way of thinking about safety sees you, the patient, and your family not as just bystanders, but as active, essential members of the safety team. And there are very real, simple things you can do to be that final safeguard. Seriously, don't ever feel bad about asking a nurse to scan your ID bracelet one more time before giving you a medication. You should always have a list of your meds with you. And if a pill they're handing you looks different from what you normally take, speak up. Ask why. You can even ask, excuse me, did you have a chance to wash your hands? An informed, engaged patient is one of the most powerful forces for safety in any hospital. So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Patient safety isn't about trying to hire superheroes who never make mistakes. That's a fantasy. It's about building smart, tough, resilient systems. Systems that assume humans will be human and are designed to catch our mistakes before they can hurt anyone. So the next time you find yourself in a clinic or hospital, for you or for somebody you love, I want you to remember that you're not just a patient, you're a part of the system, a really important part. So the real question is, now that you know all this, how are you going to step up and be a part of it?